In order to understand how poorly the Supreme Court arguments on birthright citizenship went for Donald Trump, we have to go back to last night. Because it was last night that Donald Trump announced he was going to attend in person. The first time this has ever happened in Supreme Court history. And as he was being questioned about this by CNN, where they asked which Supreme Court justices he was paying closest attention to, he said about his own Republican appointees that unlike Democratic appointees who just tend to rule against him no matter what, quote, the Republicans tend to be very different. They want to show how honorable they are. So a man can appoint them and they can rule against him, and they're so proud of it. They're so proud they ruled against Trump. We're above it. There are those who say that it is wonderful, and there are those who say they're so stupid. See, Donald Trump has always existed in a world where everyone he hires, everyone he appoints, has to obey him. And it's not whether they do anything right or wrong, it's whether they are loyal that keeps them employed. The moment that loyalty disappears, so do they. But as he's begun to learn, once you appoint a Supreme Court justice for life, they no longer owe you anything. And so as his three appointees have shown that they are not necessarily going to be loyal to him by default, he's become so frustrated that now he's played his final card, physical intimidation. He thought that if he physically showed up and stared them in the face, they would be so intimidated they would be required to comply. And this is the most delicious because what he actually found was maybe the most humiliating experience of his life. He had to sit quietly in the public section like a regular poor person, which makes what happened next to that much sweeter. Because the lawyer arguing on behalf of the Trump administration proceeded to get absolutely grilled in describing the Trump administration's logic. Chief Justice John Roberts used the words quirky and idiosyncratic, which in Supreme Court language might as well be an F-bomb and a C-bomb. Justice Gorsuch, who was appointed by Trump, implied that the citizenship status of the parents of a child was immaterial because the 14th Amendment and the Immigration and Nationality Act have to do with the child, not the parents. Justice Kavanaugh concluded the same as me, arguing why would lawmakers in 1952 have passed a law using the exact same language as the 14th Amendment, subject to the jurisdiction thereof, after dozens of cases had been decided in favor of birthright citizenship, if lawmakers in 1952 didn't agree that that was the same definition. Justice Barrett recited the Trump administration's logic back to them and then said, and that's not textual, so how did you get there? Which in plain English is like saying, you just fed me a bunch of bullshit. Tell me why you think it's chocolate pudding. Even Samuel Alito asked difficult questions of the Trump administration's lawyer. Clarence Thomas said next to nothing, which is always a good sign. And this all happened while little Donald Trump had to sit there helpless and quiet. Which explains why after listening to his own lawyer get destroyed by the Supreme Court justices he appointed, he rage quit in the middle of the hearing, got up and left. Which brings me back to Donald Trump's comment about his own appointees. Some would say they're so stupid. Donald, I'm glad you're familiar with stupid, because when this decision ultimately drops, at least you can say you saw it coming.